Welcome back to the Sad Dad Games podcast. This is another episode of Eric's Indie Corner. My name is Eric.
I'm Shan. It's never funny, but
Yeah.
you guys think you have funny intros. You don't have funny intros.
I just gotta
And
do
I'm just
something.
here.
And Tucker's present. He's also
Yeah,
here.
I'm present.
I feel just a little peek behind the curtains, especially for Eric's Indie Corner. We batch record these. We'll do a few of them at a time. And so sometimes doing like 3 or 4 intros all at once, I feel like I've got to do something different, when in reality, I probably don't. I probably shouldn't. I should just do the same thing so that any listeners can feel nice and comfortable just slipping into a new episode. But nope, I make it weird every time.
They're real weird with it.
So thank you for entertaining me in my collective weirdness, which is pretty much the whole point of Eric's Indie Corner, is just for you guys to deal with me and to what is the word I'm trying to think of? Who am I doing?
Tolerate?
Tolerate?
What is this? Yeah.
Did you say tolerate too, Shan?
I said tolerate.
People are just tolerating me. Yeah, you're just tolerating my shenanigans. That's the whole point of this episode, is to just the bare minimum of interaction with me, is people just tolerate me rambling about indie games. Anyways, the whole point of this is I pick an indie game once a week that I want to talk about because I think it's great and deserves people's attention. So today we're going to talk about a game called Blossom Tales, which is a super fun. It's a top-down puzzle dungeon crawler with some fighting elements. It's Zelda. It's a Zelda game.
It's a Link to the Past.
It's basically
Shot
just a
for
Link
shot
to the past.
remake.
It's like whenever they are pretending to do something different, it looks like they just combined like 2 different areas of A Link to the Past and made it into a new thing. But it's like you can obviously see how they grafted different parts of the game together for what they are pretending is a new idea, but it is straight up just Zelda.
Yeah, it's like landscape. Dungeon design. It is all.
I don't see anything
really,
that they've taken from any other franchise. It is just Zelda.
Well, and it's like sometimes you'll play a game that has like Zelda inspirations or whatever, but they put their own twist on it. And Blossom Tales doesn't do that so much. It's basically just a Zelda game with different characters. And you know what? As a person who loves Zelda games, I had a great time with this game. I'm totally okay with that happening every once in a while. If you're going to copy someone's homework, Zelda's not a bad place to start.
And to be fair, it's like, you know what? The Zelda studio isn't making classic Zelda games anymore. So
no, it's been a minute. I feel like Echoes of Wisdom got close, but it still was not quite the same like classic Zelda. So, but also still I really, really liked Echoes of Wisdom. So,
yeah,
but
it was a little flawed just in the primary gameplay loop. But other than that, it's like very, very impressive what they achieved technically. And so I still have to give them plaudits for that.
Yeah, I'm excited for when the Switch 2 comes out. I'm going to play that one again with a stable frame rate.
It is as bad as Breath of the Wild. It straight up just crashes to the ground as soon as you move across the screen.
Yeah, the frame rate at Echoes of Wisdom is pretty rough and probably my biggest criticism of the game. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like basically identical to Link's Awakening in rendering technique and engine. It's like you had so many years
but so much
to
more
improve
complex,
this engine.
The thing that irks
Tears of
me
the
about
Kingdom was improved and iterated on.
That's true. The thing that I think is I kind of just have to laugh about it is so Echoes of Wisdom runs at 60 frames per second, and so when it drops, it's dropping down to 30 FPS, which is still a pretty acceptable. Like it never goes below 30 as far as I can tell, which is like, why didn't they just cap it at 30? Like it would have felt like a smoother.
Yeah,
they shot for the moon and they missed.
The 60 and 30, it's like it is so much different than going like 60 to 90 or something. Like the frame time halving is just so unbearable. Like it's like playing a cinematic game and you're playing at 60 frames per second, and then you go to a cutscene that's 30 and it makes your eyes bleed. Like yeah. It's way too different.
I am not super sensitive to like frame rate drops, but even for me, Echoes of Wisdom was a little bit much. So anyways, enough about Echoes of Wisdom. We're talking about Blossom Tales today. Blossom Tales is pretty much just a Link to the Past. Obviously not as good because A Link to the Past is one of the best games ever made, but it is still very good and very fun in its own right. We're going to break things down as I always do with story, gameplay, and then visuals and sound. So the story for Blossom Tale is told in a very fun way. It's basically a grandfather telling his grandkids a bedtime story. And
so it's the Princess Bride.
It's the Princess
Yes.
Bride.
Can I take a shot at the story line here? At
Absolutely.
explaining it.
Yeah.
So Ganondorf, he comes in and he kidnaps the princess Zelda.
You mean Aghanim in Link to the Past?
Yeah, sorry. I got to get it right.
Dumb.
You said Aghanim? I always said Aghanim.
I don't
Interesting.
know. I'm just making.
No, I don't think one's right or wrong.
Tomato.
Yeah, interesting.
Anyway,
Anyways, go ahead. I want to hear the rest of the story.
No, that was my dumbass joke. You can go ahead, Eric.
Okay. I mean, you're not too far off. So what happens with the story is it's framed as like a bedtime story. This grandpa's telling his grandkids a story, and how that can kind of play into the gameplay is sometimes the grandpa will be like, and then they came across a pack of wolves, and then one of the kids will be like, no, it was a horde of Vikings. And then you get to choose if you want to fight a pack of wolves or a horde of Vikings. And, so sometimes little things like that will happen where it's like you can choose between this and that. And it doesn't really affect much, but it's kind of like a fun little way to make it feel like a story that the grandpa's telling to his kids.
Yeah, it kind of also feels like Resident Evil Nemesis, where it's like you get that sudden choice that breaks the game in one direction or the other. But it always comes back to itself. I don't know. You probably have
kind of like that. There's a few. They're never big like sweeping choices that ever affect the story at all. It's like, do you want A or B to happen, and then it happens, and then it's just kind of over. But it is a fun little like storytelling thing. So yeah, there's no like branching storylines. There's no critical choice making. It's always like they saw a field of flowers, and it's like, no, it was actually a field of carrot plants, and none of those actually happen in the game. I'm just giving examples of like how inconsequential they are.
But just kind of helps you ground back to the original story or how the story's being told. So
it's just fun fluff basically that I thought was a fun little extra little thing to the game. So you play as Lily, who is a Knight of the Rose, and then the king of the land, King Orchid, is put to sleep by means of a terrible curse by his jealous brother, and Lily has to go get to 4 different dungeons to gather the 4 ingredients to craft the potion to wake up the king. So it's very much like a Zelda game where it's like, here are 4 MacGuffins, they are in 4 dungeons, go do the dungeons, and then ta-da, like so it has anyone who's ever played a Zelda game, structure is not going to shock anybody. But the story is fun and nice. It's not super deep or complex, but the characters are all told well enough that they're enjoyable. Lily is an enjoyable protagonist. She's not super, she's not really a blank slate, but she's not a really engaging character, but she's fun. And so I enjoy the story is what I'm trying to say. It's not super complicated, but it's a good time, and it's serviceable to kind of get you to play some classic Zelda, style dungeons and combat. And so moving on to gameplay, as we talked about, it's Zelda. It's just Zelda. If you've played a 2D top-down Zelda game, you know exactly what you're getting into here. You go to a dungeon, you acquire new items, you use new items to solve those puzzles within the dungeon, and usually to defeat the boss at the end. And then the item that you gain in that dungeon often gives you access to new areas in the overworld map. That's kind of how the progression of the game works. It's not just similar to a Zelda game, it's exactly the same as how you would progress in an old school Zelda game.
You know what? This kind of like reeks of like somebody was doing a mod of A Link to the Past, and then at the last minute they just did a sprite swap on everything so that they could
said,
ship
F
it
it,
without
I'm just gonna do it myself. I'm gonna make my own game.
Right? Yeah, because Nintendo's lawyers
I could sell this. Yeah, it does kind of feel like that. So, and I mean, the art style is very reminiscent, and we'll get in the art style in a minute. But I'll say that for a minute. But the fighting is fun. Combat's fun. Very standard Zelda fare. Puzzles are actually part of this where I feel like this game really shines. Puzzle design is really solid. It's very challenging, but not over difficult. It's what is being expected is very well telegraphed to the player without giving away the secret or the solution to the puzzle. So very impressed with the puzzle design. Really solid puzzle design in this game that kind of scratches that Zelda itch, which if you're anything like me, sometimes you get a Zelda itch and you want to play something new Zelda, but there's no new Zelda, and so you play Blossom Tales. But this game really, if you love the puzzles in Zelda games, this scratches that itch very, very well. Solid puzzle design.
Yeah, okay. I was gonna ask the quality of puzzles compared to like a Zelda game or
obviously not quite as good as most Zelda games. I'd say it's probably in the realm of like some of the Game Boy Color-ish Zelda games, but not quite as obtuse. Those ones can be sort of hard to glean naturally. But I think quality of puzzles is pretty high in this game. Obviously not to the same level as a standard Zelda game, but very good. Enough so that they impressed me enough that I made a mental note of it, that I was like, oh wow, that was really good. So.
Okay. Is it typically like lock and key puzzles or?
It's pretty standard Zelda stuff. There's like lots of locked doors and like go here, do the challenge, get the key, and then make your way back to the locked door in the dungeon. There's block pushing puzzles and using your items in different and interesting ways. And it's a lot of standard items like bow and arrow, things like that. I think that so I'm trying to remember. I played this one and the sequel. There's another one, Blossom Tales 2, but I played the sequel fairly recently, and I can't remember which items go in which, but I think you get like a yo-yo that works like a hook shot. So there is some kind of like differences in the items, like,
but not really.
But on a surface level, like, but not really.
It's different, but not really.
There is, and I won't spoil it, but there is one item in the second game that is fairly different from like most Zelda items that I thought was really brilliant for puzzle designs that I really, really enjoyed. And I can't remember if it was in the first game or not, because I played the second one more recently and they blend together in my mind a little bit. But yeah, good stuff as far as puzzles go. One thing that the gameplay is lacking a little bit is in the combat. It doesn't always have a really good like punchy feel to it. Oftentimes when you hit something in a game, it'll like freeze for a second and the screen might shake, or you get that really good impact feedback. Maybe the enemy will be knocked back, and you don't get it. The combat just doesn't always quite have that good punchy impact feel, and so it can feel a little bit floaty and button mashy at times. So combat's not bad, but it's definitely not as strong as the puzzle design. And the sword swings don't feel quite as strong as they could. So not a knock against it, but just an area where it doesn't quite live up to what it could.
I've kind of like made a 2D top-down game in Scratch back in my college days. And I'm guessing it's kind of like that, where like the physical interaction of the hitbox doesn't feel like it's reactive because it's not technically programmed to be as responsive as a rigid body as like somebody who's owned it. So it's just, I'm sure it's like the sword is probably just like clipping through sprites pretty liberally, and it's just kind of floaty and not solid and chunky.
Well, and it is also, the sword animation is a pretty even, like when the sword comes out and there's no ease in or ease out or like quick, like it just kind of like a window wiper in front of you kind of. So it doesn't have like a strong, like when you swing your sword in a Zelda game, it's a strong, like he like whips it out fast and then holds it in front of him first. So it's like, I heard that when I said it. My bad.
It's a real stiff one. You just
really whip it out and it points straight forward.
Just
swing
all erect and everything.
Tucker promised.
People are very impressed.
If there's a wiener,
at the beginning
I'm
of
on
this episode that he was good. He was going to be here for all the penis jokes. So
suddenly Tucker came alive.
His eyes lit up. He's like, "It's time."
More wieners. More wieners.
Oh man, that's some good chanting. Chant going, more wien. Next time we're in a public in a crowd, Tucker will start the more wieners chant. Yeah, so anyways, Lily isn't quite as proficient with the whipping out of her sword as Link is, probably because she doesn't have as much practice.
And it's not as pointy.
Yeah, it's not as pointy. But yeah, so gameplay super solid. Visuals and sound. This is where we really are going to get into some areas where it's very clearly aping Zelda games. Like the art design it's a 2D pixel art kind of a thing. And it really, really looks almost like it's just ripped straight out of A Link to the Past, but like watered down a little bit. I don't know, thoughts, guys?
It's not as like I don't know. The design feels like a couple notches below the quality of Zelda, so it's like it's not like they took it and straight up just traced it because the quality doesn't match 1-to-1, but it has some charm in how they've scaled back and actually made it like less like lower fidelity than Zelda, so it finds its own stylized aesthetic because they probably didn't have the same talent as the Zelda team.
Yeah.
But it works, and it's charming because of it.
Yeah, I think charming is the right word. It's a really nice, charming looking game that the pixel art and the animation aren't gonna, have your jaw dropping, but the game looks nice. It's pleasant, and it has a very charming visual style that really is reminiscent of Zelda games. And then the sound design is where the game teeters a little bit on like being inspired by and just straight up ripping off Zelda. Like the little jingle that plays when you
lawyers
solve a
at Nintendo are like, ooh, we're getting close on this one.
Ooh, they're right on the line with this one. Yeah. But like, for example, the jingle that plays like when you like solve a puzzle or something, it's basically just the beat-a-doodle-doodle-dee-deep. Like it sounds so similar to that it's like, I don't know how they got away with it. It's like, it's not the same, but it's so similar. It like, which maybe that's a good thing because it evokes the same, response in me. I'm like, I did a puzzle. So maybe it's a good thing.
Yeah, I watched the trailer for this, and like I think it was just like the intro music or something like that, like beginning of the game. I was like, that is literally Zelda, and how have copyright lawyers not come for this property?
Yeah, they just switched the order of some of the notes, and they were like, I did it. Yeah. Yeah, we did it. We did the music. It's definitely not Zelda. It's legally distinct Zelda. Yeah,
I'm not sure
it's
that
as
they
distinct
had
as Under Pressure and Ice Ice Baby. That is.
Yeah. It's doom, ding. Different song.
No, didn't they officially get sued for that song and they won over it? Ice Ice Baby?
I don't know. Maybe it is just the riff from Under Pressure. Like
Vanilla Ice's hit song Ice Ice Baby led to a copyright infringement lawsuit because it sampled the bass line from Queen and David Bowie's Under Pressure without permission or credit. While they didn't formally file a lawsuit, legal representatives for Queen and Bowie threatened Vanilla Ice. The matter was eventually settled out of court, with Vanilla Ice making financial payment and granting songwriting credits to Queen and Bowie. So they did win, but
way to go, Rob Van Winkle.
Yeah.
That mattered to us back in the 2000s, but
is a very
something
important
that's lost to history.
Yeah. Very important. Who actually who did the song better? Yeah, obviously Queen and David Bowie. But
actually, when did Ice Ice Baby come out? It came out in 1990.
Something?
Yeah, it's
right in 1990.
So that would have been like the year before Freddie Mercury died.
Oh yeah, he died
1991.
Right? Yeah.
November 24th on my birthday.
Oh man.
Dude, I went to Switzerland and wait,
like the day you were born or like
so my first birthday.
Okay, are you the reincarnated Freddie Mercury?
I am.
Sorry, go ahead, Shan.
No, Joseph Stalin dies and you replaced him
from Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
No, I went to Switzerland this last year and there was a studio that's on top of a casino in Montreux. And that's where Queen had recorded a bunch of songs. I think that's where they recorded Under Pressure with David Bowie. Cool. And so they have this like tiny little museum that you can walk in for free and see a bunch of like handwritten lyrics and stuff to stuff that Queen did while they were there. That was like one of his favorite places to record music. And so there's also a Freddie Mercury statue in Montreux, and so everybody does the like it's the one. It's his
Live Aid
with his pumping his fist.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, so it's basically Blossom Tales is the same as Vanilla Ice ripping the music from. They sampled the music from Link to the Past.
Man,
we got real off track on that one. From music to Vanilla Ice to Switzerland.
So we're just trying to come up with like every copyright infringement case that we can. Let's see. What was also that song from like 6 or 8 years ago that Pharrell Williams and what's his face? That was a huge copyright.
Happy? Is that Pharrell Williams? No.
That one was him, but that wasn't the song I was talking about. It was that song. Let's see.
Was there one with Ed Sheeran with like The Shape of You?
No, Blurred Lines. That's what I was thinking of. With Robin Thicke, and they got into a huge lawsuit over all of that. But Blurred Lines, even though it lost, very sexually explicit song, and it is a very good song. And
it's a
I
banger
hate that
in more than one way.
It is such a banger, and I hate that like it died in popularity because of this lawsuit, because it was a fantastic song.
I don't think I've heard that song. I'll have to look it up.
No, you've heard that song 1,000%.
Have I?
Yeah.
Hum it for me.
It was.
It's highly sexual.
I probably have heard it. Yeah. I don't really keep up with modern music. I don't.
It was everywhere in 2012.
The only so I probably have heard it and just don't remember. Yeah.
All right, those are the only copyright lawsuits I can.
We did it. We found all the copyright.
There's only 3.
There's only that's all of them in the whole world. Well, that kind of does it for Blossom Tales. If you like Zelda, you'll like Blossom Tales because it basically is a Zelda game.
I feel like we talked about that game for a quarter of this episode.
Yeah, and then
copyright issues the other 3/4.
Yeah, that's what we're here for. You're here for the banter and the copyright issues talk. Who even cares about video games?
Can you think of any other game that like straight up just copied a game this hard?
Maybe Axiom Verge and Metroid. But probably not. They do some things to differentiate themselves, but Blossom Tales is just a Zelda game with a different coat of paint, which is not a bad thing.
If you want a Zelda game,
not a bad
then
thing.
Just go play it because they haven't been sued yet. So good for them.
I've played Blossom Tales 1 and 2. I think they're great. I don't want to undersell it. I think that they by just calling it a Zelda clone, I feel like kind of diminishes the quality of it, but it's a very fun game.
That's a compliment.
Definitely check it out. It's a compliment. Yeah, like I said, if you're going to
because
copy
I
someone's
want more
homework,
old school Zelda.
Yeah, it's definitely a game that I really enjoyed, and I can't get enough Zelda. So
the reason that I want to get into PC gaming is because I want to get into modded games, because modders can take what was the original game and just make new stages and worlds that are in the spirit of the original game that will never be created again. Because one of my favorite mods that I just lightly got into was and I think it was called like the Jiggies of Time. They should have just put appropriately so that your jumps and everything went along with that. It is so often, but
listen, it's a rough time to be a Banjo-Kazooie fan. If you're a Zelda fan, you're spoiled for choice. You got tons of indie games and tons of Zelda games, and if you're a huge Banjo fan, you have 2 proper games. Some indie spin-offs,
1.5,
and then a GBA game.
Even Banjo-Tooie kind of got DK64'd a little too hard. They took what was the good stuff and they went too hard on the bad stuff. And so the world design isn't tight anymore. Yeah. And it's just too big and it's so easy to get lost. And Banjo-Kazooie was the perfect tightness, the perfect amount of collectibles. Whereas Banjo-Tooie, you're going back and forth, just like DK64, because you have to change characters or change your transformation to be able to get everything. It's you could tell it was the step before DK64. They were taking all the wrong lessons, just like Resident Evil did with between 5 and 6, and almost burning out the whole franchise.
It was a rough time, and then they saved it with 7. What a great game! Yeah.
Mm.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for us today, you guys. Blossom Tales take you about 8 to 12-ish hours to get through. You can buy it on Nintendo Switch or Windows, and it's available for $14.99. So check it out. It's good stuff.
Small price to pay for a classic Zelda game.
Exactly. Classic Zelda games are not cheap. Nintendo charge you $80 for it, so get this one for $14.99.
Have any of you got into like classic game collecting? Because it is very expensive, but I decided to bite the bullet and go for it, and now these games are just getting more expensive. So I bet it's like up until like this last month, it was probably beating gold, just like Lego sets could. But now gold that's a whole thing. The dollar's collapsing. People are fleeing to gold as a safe harbor, and that's very
gold and
esoteric.
Legos, the two big
yes, gold and Nintendo cartridges.
All right, everybody, make sure to come back here. You can check us out. Find us. We do our regular episodes every Monday. Eric's Indie Corner on Thursdays. You can find us here on YouTube, also on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Make sure to follow us on Instagram as well. Leave a comment, like, subscribe. Really helps us out to have comments and to have subscriptions if you guys like the stuff that we're doing. That's it. Thanks for listening, everybody. See you next week.
See ya.
Bye.
Outro. Bleep-a-doof, bleep-a-deep, bloop-a-dee-blow.